Captain Una Park stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the red surface of Mars through the viewport. The planet looked peaceful from this distance. Small white clouds drifted across the rust-colored landscape. The morning sun cast long shadows over the canyons and mountains below. Una had been protecting Mars for 3 years now. She commanded the best reconnaissance unit in the Mars Colonial Defense Force. Her team was small but skilled. They knew every asteroid field and space lane around the red planet. Pirates and smugglers had learned to fear her ship, the Dawn Runner. Today felt different, though. Something was wrong. Her communication officer, Lieutenant Ji-won Kim, looked up from her station. "Captain, we're getting strange readings from the outer sensors. Multiple large objects approaching from deep space." Una moved to the tactical display. Dozens of red dots appeared on the screen, moving toward Mars at incredible speed. She had never seen ships this large before. Each one was bigger than the entire Mars defense fleet combined. "How long until they reach us?" Una asked. 20 minutes, Ji-won replied. Her voice was tight with worry. Una activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We have unknown vessels approaching Mars battle stations now." The bridge came alive with activity. Officers ran to their posts. Warning lights flashed red throughout the ship. Una felt her heart beating faster, but she kept her voice calm. Her crew needed to see strength, not fear. The Dawn Runner was a small ship compared to what was coming. It carried only 40 crew members and had light weapons designed for fighting pirates, not massive warships. But it was fast and smart, built for reconnaissance and quick strikes. "Send a message to Mars Defense Command," Una ordered. "Tell them we have incoming hostiles. Request immediate backup." "Message sent, Captain," Ji-won confirmed. "Mars Command is scrambling all available ships." Una knew it would not be enough. The entire Mars defense fleet had only 12 ships. They were facing what looked like hundreds of enemy vessels. The first alien ships became visible without sensors. They were enormous, dark metal constructions that blocked out the stars behind them. Strange lights pulsed along their hulls. The largest one was easily 10 kilometers long, shaped like a massive spear pointing directly at Mars. "Incoming transmission," Ji-won reported. "It's from the lead ship. Put it on screen." The viewport flickered and showed the interior of an alien bridge. The creature standing in the center was tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. It wore a uniform covered in strange symbols. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical. "I am Admiral Kento of the Galactic Empire. You will surrender your planet immediately. Resistance will result in the destruction of all human settlements. You have 1 hour to comply." The transmission ended. The alien fleet spread out in a perfect formation around Mars, cutting off all escape routes. Una clenched her fists. "Like hell we will." She opened a channel to the other Mars defense ships. "All vessels, this is Captain Park. We cannot match their firepower, but we can make them pay for every meter of space. Stay mobile, hit them fast, then run. Make them chase us away from the civilian colonies." The Mars defense fleet was small but brave. 11 other ships acknowledged her orders. They formed up behind the Dawn Runner as Una led them toward the alien formation. "Captain," her weapons officer called out, "we're in firing range. All ships open fire." The human ships unleashed everything they had. Missiles and energy beams struck the alien vessels. For a moment, Una felt hope. Their weapons were hitting the targets. Then the Empire ships fired back. The space around Mars lit up like 1,000 suns. Massive beams of pure energy lanced out from the alien fleet. One of the human ships, the Red Eagle, took a direct hit. It exploded instantly, becoming a brief star in the darkness. "Evasive maneuvers," Una shouted. "Get us out of here." The Dawn Runner twisted and rolled, dodging the deadly beams. 2 more human ships were destroyed in seconds. The aliens were not just bigger and stronger. Their weapons were far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. "Captain, the Martian Pride is requesting assistance," Ji-won reported. "They've lost engines and are drifting toward the enemy line." Una did not hesitate. "Set course for the Martian Pride. We're not leaving anyone behind." "But Captain, it's suicide." "Her," First Officer protested. "We don't abandon our people." Yuna replied firmly. The Dawn Runner raced toward the disabled ship. Enemy fire filled the space around them. Yuna's pilot was skilled, weaving between the deadly beams with incredible precision. They reached the Martian Pride and began evacuating survivors. That was when Admiral Kento's flagship targeted them directly. The alien dreadnought was massive beyond belief. Its main weapon began charging with a deep, ominous hum that seemed to shake the fabric of space itself. A ball of crackling energy formed at the tip of the ship's forward section. "Captain, massive energy buildup detected," the tactical officer yelled. "It's aimed right at us." Yuna knew they could not escape in time. The weapon was too big, too powerful. She grabbed the communication panel and opened a channel to all remaining human ships. "This is Captain Park. Continue the evacuation of Mars colonies. Don't let our sacrifice be meaningless. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them the Empire is coming." The alien weapon fired. The beam was not like the others. This one was pure destruction, a column of energy that seemed to tear reality apart as it traveled. It struck the Dawn Runner's bridge directly. The last thing Yuna saw was a brilliant white light that filled her vision completely. Then came pain beyond description, as if the light was burning away everything that made her who she was. She felt the bridge exploding around her, felt her ship dying beneath her feet. Then darkness took her, deeper and more complete than anything she had ever experienced. When consciousness finally returned, Yuna found herself in a medical bed. She could hear voices around her, the beeping of machines, the distant rumble of the colony's life support systems. She tried to open her eyes to see where she was. Nothing happened. She tried again, concentrating harder. Still nothing. No light, no shapes, no colors. Just endless, absolute darkness. "Doctor," she heard Jiwan's voice nearby. "I think she's waking up." Footsteps approached her bed. A gentle hand touched her forehead. "Captain Park, this is Dr. Minho Lee. You're safe now. You're in the Mars Colonial Medical Center." Yuna tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. Dr. Lee gave her some water and she managed to whisper, "My eyes. Why can't I see anything?" The silence that followed told her everything she needed to know. "The energy beam that hit your ship," Dr. Lee said carefully. "It damaged your optic nerves beyond repair." "I'm sorry, Captain. The blindness is permanent." Yuna lay still, processing this information. She was alive, but she would never see again. No more watching Mars sunrises from her ship's bridge. No more seeing the faces of her crew. No more visual beauty in her life. Ever again. "The Empire," she whispered. "What happened to the fleet?" "The remaining ships managed to evacuate most of the outer colonies," G1 reported. "But the aliens have surrounded Mars with some kind of barrier. Earth's reinforcement fleet can't find us. We're cut off and alone. How long do we have?" "Admiral Kento gave us 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. That was 2 days ago." Yuna closed her useless eyes and tried to think. Somewhere above them, the Galactic Empire was waiting for humanity's final answer. In 24 hours, they would either surrender or face total destruction. And she, their best reconnaissance captain, was now completely blind and useless. 3 days had passed since Yuna lost her sight. She sat in her hospital bed listening to the sounds of the medical center around her. Nurses walked by in the hallway. Machines beeped steadily. Somewhere in the distance she could hear the low hum of the colony's air recycling systems. Dr. Minho Lee had been checking on her every few hours. He seemed puzzled by something in her medical readings, but he would not explain what. Yuna could hear the concern in his voice when he spoke to the other doctors. "Your brain scans are showing unusual activity," he had told her that morning. "Areas that are normally quiet in sighted people are becoming very active in your case." Yuna did not understand what he meant. She just wanted to get out of bed and do something useful. The Empire was still up there, waiting for humanity's surrender. Every hour that passed brought them closer to destruction. Lieutenant Jiwan Kim visited her every day. She brought news from the outside, though most of it was bad. The alien ships remained in perfect formation around Mars. Their energy barrier made it impossible for any signals to reach Earth. The red planet was completely cut off from the rest of humanity. The council is meeting again today, Ji-won told her during her afternoon visit. They're still debating whether to surrender. Cowards, Yuna muttered. The Empire will destroy us whether we surrender or not. At least if we fight, we die with honor. That's easy to say when you're lying in a hospital bed, Ji-won replied. The council has to think about the 3 million civilians in the colonies. Yuna knew her friend was right, but it still made her angry. She felt useless lying here. While others made decisions about humanity's future, she tried to stand up, wanting to pace around the room like she always did when thinking hard about problems. As soon as her feet touched the floor, something strange happened. The world around her suddenly became visible, but not in any way she had ever experienced before. She could not see colors or shapes like normal vision. Instead, she saw patterns of energy flowing through everything around her. The walls glowed with electrical current running through hidden wires. The medical equipment pulsed with different kinds of power signatures. Most amazing of all, she could see Ji-won sitting in the chair beside her bed. Not her physical appearance, but something else entirely. Warm streams of bioelectricity flowed through her friend's nervous system. Her heart beat with a steady rhythm that created ripples in the energy field around her body. What's wrong? Ji-won asked, noticing that Yuna had gone very still. Yuna blinked hard, trying to clear her vision. The strange sight disappeared, leaving her in darkness again. I think I'm going crazy. For a moment I could see you. Not really see you, but I could sense your electrical patterns or something. That's impossible, Ji-won said, but her voice was uncertain. Dr. Lee arrived a few minutes later for his evening check. Yuna told him what had happened. He listened carefully, then ran some quick tests with his scanner. This is remarkable, he said after studying the results. Your brain is rewiring itself. The trauma from the energy weapon seems to have activated dormant neural pathways. Some humans have latent abilities that never develop under normal circumstances. What kind of abilities? Yuna asked. I'm not entirely sure yet, but the readings suggest you might be developing sensitivity to electromagnetic fields and quantum fluctuations. It's like your brain is learning to process information that normal human senses cannot detect. Over the next few hours, the strange new perception came and went in brief flashes. Yuna began to understand what she was experiencing. She could sense the flow of electricity through the colony's power grid. She could feel the magnetic fields generated by all the electronic equipment around her. Most interesting of all, she began to detect subtle distortions in the space nearby. The next morning, engineer Do-hyun Choi came to visit her. He was one of the colony's best technical experts, working desperately to find some way to break through the Empire's blockade. He looked exhausted with dark circles under his eyes. We've tried everything, he told Yuna. Every type of signal, every frequency we can generate. Nothing gets through their barrier. It's like Mars has been erased from the universe. Yuna listened to him talk, but part of her attention was focused on the strange new sensations she was experiencing. The more she concentrated, the clearer they became. She could feel something massive pressing down on the space around Mars, like a heavy weight distorting the fabric of reality itself. Do-hyun, she said suddenly, what if their barrier isn't just blocking our signals? What if it's actually bending space around the planet? That's impossible, he replied. The energy requirements would be enormous. But what if they have that much power? Yuna pressed. I can feel something up there. It's like ripples in the space above us, coming from multiple sources arranged in a perfect circle. Do-hyun stared at her. You can feel their ships? I think so. There are 12 major distortion points, each one creating waves in space-time. They're positioned at exactly equal distances around Mars. How can you possibly know that? Yuna could not explain it properly. The sensation was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was as if losing her normal sight had opened up entirely new ways of perceiving the universe around her. Captain Somin Jang arrived that afternoon for a meeting of the senior officers still on Mars. She was now the highest-ranking military commander left after the destruction of most of the fleet. When she heard about Yuna's claims, she was skeptical. You're telling me that Captain Park can somehow detect enemy ships through their cloaking field? Someone asked Dr. Lee. That sounds like desperation talking. I know how it sounds, Dr. Lee replied. But her brain scans show activity in areas associated with quantum perception. Some species in the galaxy are known to have these abilities naturally. Fine, Soman said. Let's test it. Captain Park, if you can really sense their fleet, tell me where they're going to attack next. Yuna closed her eyes and concentrated on the distortions she could feel above Mars. The alien ships were not just sitting still. They were moving in a slow, complex pattern, like a dance performed in the void of space. She could sense the rhythm of their movement, the way they coordinated their positions. They're going to send a probe toward the northern polar region, she said after several minutes of concentration. 3 ships will break formation and approach the ice mining station there. It will happen in exactly 47 minutes. Captain Jiang looked at her watch. We'll see. 47 minutes later, the colony's sensors detected 3 alien ships approaching the northern mining station, exactly as Yuna had predicted. They scanned the facility thoroughly, then returned to their positions in the orbital formation. The room went completely silent. How did you know that? Soman asked quietly. I can see the patterns they make in space, Yuna explained. When they move, they create ripples in gravity and quantum fields. It's like watching waves on water, but the water is the fabric of space itself. Dr. Lee nodded slowly. The energy weapon that blinded you must have damaged more than just your optic nerves. It altered your brain structure in ways we don't fully understand. You're perceiving reality at a quantum level now. This changes everything, Do-hyun said excitedly. If Captain Park can track their ships through the cloaking field, maybe we can find a way to fight back. Yuna felt hope stirring in her chest, for the first time since the attack. She might be blind, but she could see things that no human had ever seen before. The Empire had taken her eyes, but they had accidentally given her something far more valuable. She could see the invisible threads that connected all things in the universe, and she was going to use that gift to save Mars. Yuna spent the next day learning to control her new abilities. Dr. Lee had moved her to a special room with better equipment to monitor her brain activity. Every time she concentrated on the space around Mars, the readings showed intense activity in previously unused parts of her mind. It's like your brain is processing an entirely new type of sensory information, Dr. Lee explained as he studied the latest scans. The quantum field fluctuations that most humans cannot detect are becoming as clear to you as normal vision once was. Yuna nodded, though she was only half listening. Most of her attention was focused upward, tracking the movements of the Empire fleet through her strange new perception. The alien ships created constant ripples in space-time as they maintained their positions. She was beginning to understand the pattern of their formation. Engineer Do-hyun Choi had been working with her all morning, trying to translate what she sensed into useful tactical information. He had brought detailed star charts and ship schematics, asking her to describe what she perceived in terms he could understand. The big ship, the one that fired at you, Do-hyun said, pointing to a spot on his tactical display. Can you sense what it's doing now? Yuna concentrated on the area he indicated. The flagship was easy to find because it created the largest distortions in space around it. But as she focused more carefully, she began to notice something strange about its energy signature. It's not just one ship, she said slowly. There are smaller vessels docked inside it, hundreds of them, and the power source is unlike anything I've ever sensed before. What do you mean? The energy patterns are wrong. They don't match what I would expect from normal fusion or antimatter reactors. It's like they're drawing power from somewhere else entirely. Dr. Yoonji Ko arrived with the latest intelligence reports from the colony's remaining spy satellites. She was the head of Mars Colonial Research Division, a brilliant scientist who had been studying alien technology for years. Her face was grim as she spread out her data tablets. We've been analyzing the energy signatures from the Empire ships, she told them. Captain Park is right. Their power systems are completely unknown to us. But more importantly, we've detected something else. She activated a holographic display showing the space around Mars. Red dots marked the positions of the alien fleet, but there were also faint blue lines connecting them. What are those lines? Yuna asked. Energy transfers, Dr. Ko replied. The ships are sharing power through some kind of wireless system. But here's the interesting part. Every few hours there are gaps in the network. Brief moments when the power flow is interrupted. Yuna studied the display, then closed her eyes and reached out with her quantum perception. She could sense the energy flows Dr. Ko was talking about. The alien ships were indeed connected by streams of power that flowed between them in complex patterns. "I can see it," she said. "But there's more. The power network has a rhythm like a heartbeat, and when the flow changes direction, there are weak points in their formation." "Weak points how?" Do-Yun asked. "They're shields. The energy barrier they're using to hide Mars from Earth. It depends on perfect coordination between all their ships. When the power flow shifts, there are tiny gaps where the barrier becomes unstable." Dr. Ko looked excited. "If we could time an attack to hit during one of those gaps, we might be able to punch through their defenses. But we don't have any ships left," Do-Yun pointed out. "The entire defense fleet was destroyed except for a few fighters." "Then we use what we have," Yuna said firmly. "How many fighters are still operational?" 12, Do-Yun replied. "But they're light attack craft. Their weapons couldn't scratch the Empire ship's armor." "They don't need to destroy the ships," Yuna said. "They just need to hit the right spot at exactly the right time." She opened her eyes and looked toward where she knew the others were sitting, even though she could not see them. "I can guide them through the gaps in the barrier. If we can disrupt their power network even for a few seconds, it might be enough to send a signal to Earth." Captain Soman Jung had been listening from the doorway. She stepped into the room, her expression thoughtful. "It's a desperate plan. We'd be sending pilots on a suicide mission based on the word of someone who claims to see invisible energy patterns." "I know how it sounds," Yuna admitted. "But what choice do we have? In 18 hours, Admiral Kento's deadline expires. If we're going to act, it has to be now." "The pilots will volunteer," Soman said after a long pause. "Everyone on Mars knows. We're facing extinction. They'll take any chance to fight back." Over the next few hours, they prepared for the mission. Pilot Hyok Nam volunteered to lead the fighter squadron. He was young but skilled, one of the few pilots who had survived the initial battle with the Empire fleet. When Yuna explained what he would need to do, he listened carefully without asking too many questions about how she could possibly guide him through an invisible maze of energy fields. "You'll have to trust me completely," she told him as the fighters prepared to launch. "I'll be watching the quantum fluctuations around the fleet. When I tell you to turn or dive or accelerate, you have to react instantly. There won't be time to think about it." "Understood, Captain," Yak replied. "Just get us through their defenses." The fighters launched from hidden bays scattered across Mars. They flew low over the planet's surface, using the terrain to mask their approach from the Empire sensors. Yuna sat in the colony's command center, her mind reaching out through space to track every movement of the alien fleet. "Power surge detected in the enemy formation," Dr. Ko reported. "The network is shifting to a new configuration." Yuna felt the change through her quantum perception. The streams of energy connecting the Empire ships began flowing in a different pattern. For just a moment, there was a gap in the barrier directly above the northern polar region. "Now," she told Hyok through the communication link, "climb to maximum altitude and head bearing 047. The fighters responded instantly, breaking from cover and racing toward space. The Empire ships detected them immediately, but they were confused by the humans' flight path. The fighters seemed to be heading directly into the strongest part of the energy barrier. "Captain, I'm getting massive interference," Yak reported. "My instruments are going crazy." "Ignore them," Yuna replied. "Trust what I tell you. Turn 15 degrees left and dive toward the third moon." To outside observers, the human fighters appeared to be flying through solid walls of energy. But Yuna could see the invisible corridors they were following, paths between the quantum distortions that offered safe passage through the barrier. The Empire fleet began firing, filling space with deadly energy beams, but their weapons could not target what they could not properly detect. The fighters slipped through gaps in space-time that the alien sensors could not perceive. "We're through the outer perimeter," Yak announced. "But Captain, there are hundreds of ships up here. We can't possibly fight them all." You don't need to fight them, Yuna said. Just get close enough to the flagship to plant the signal beacon. I'll guide you to the weakest point in their shields. She could sense the massive dreadnought ahead of them, its hull crackling with defensive energy, but her perception showed her something the aliens did not know. Their own power network was creating microscopic tears in their shield matrix. If the fighters could get a beacon through one of those tears, it would punch a hole in the entire barrier system. Follow my directions exactly, she told Hyuk. Accelerate to full speed and aim for a point 50 meters to the left of the ship's main weapon. That's suicide, Captain. Their shields are strongest there. Trust me. The fighters dove toward the flagship at maximum speed. Energy beams reached out to destroy them, but Yuna guided them through a path that seemed to bend around the weapons. Fire. At the last second, she shouted, "Release the beacon now." The small device shot from Hyuk's fighter just as a microscopic gap opened in the flagship's shields. It passed through the barrier and attached itself to the alien hull. Immediately, it began broadcasting a powerful signal that tore through the Empire's cloaking field like a knife through cloth. "Signal transmitted," Dr. Ko announced from the command center. "Earth's reinforcement fleet should be able to detect our location now." But Admiral Kento was not finished. As the human fighters tried to escape, scanning beams reached out from the flagship and locked onto Hyuk's ship. Yuna felt the alien technology probing her pilot's mind, trying to understand how the humans had penetrated their defenses. They're scanning for psychic abilities, she realized with horror. The Empire has fought others like me before. They know what to look for. The scanning beam found what it was seeking. Through Hyuk's mind, it traced the connection back to Yuna herself. She felt the alien intelligence touching her thoughts, trying to understand her quantum perception. Then Admiral Kento's voice filled the communication channels. "Humans of Mars, you have a gifted individual among you. One who sees beyond normal sight. Surrender this person to us immediately, or we will destroy every living thing on your planet." The mission had succeeded in contacting Earth, but now Yuna faced a terrible choice. The Empire wanted her abilities for themselves, and they were willing to commit genocide to get them. Admiral Kento's ultimatum echoed through every speaker in the Mars colonies. His cold, mechanical voice left no room for doubt about his intentions. "You have 6 hours to deliver the gifted human to our flagship. If you refuse, we will begin orbital bombardment of your civilian population centers." Yuna sat in the colony command center, listening to the frantic discussions around her. Through her quantum perception, she could sense the Empire fleet repositioning itself for attack. The massive ships were moving into bombardment formation, their weapons charging with deadly energy. "We can't give you to them," Captain Somenjang said firmly. "Whatever they want you for, it can't be good." "The choice isn't yours to make," Yuna replied quietly. 3 million people live on Mars. I won't let them die because of me. Dr. Minho Lee had been studying the alien scanning data from the fighter mission. His face was pale as he looked up from his analysis. "Captain, I don't think they just want to study you. The energy patterns they use to probe your mind, they're designed to extract and transfer psychic abilities." "What does that mean?" Engineer Do-hyun Choi asked. "It means they want to steal her gift," Dr. Yoonji Ko said grimly. "They've probably done this before to other species. That's how they've become so powerful. They take the unique abilities of every race they conquer." Yuna felt a chill run through her. She had wondered how the Empire had developed such advanced technology. Now she understood. They were parasites, feeding on the talents of countless civilizations they had destroyed. "All the more reason why we can't let them have you," Soman insisted. "And all the more reason why I have to go," Yuna countered. "If I surrender, maybe I can learn something about their technology. Find a weakness we can exploit." "It's suicide," Ji-won Kim said from her position at the communications console. "You'll never make it back alive." Yuna stood up, her decision made. "Then we make sure my sacrifice counts for something. How long until Earth's reinforcement fleet arrives?" 12 hours at minimum, Soman reported. "Admiral Jung is bringing everything he has, but they have to travel through several jump points to reach us." "That's too long." The Empire will start bombing the colonies in 6 hours. Yuna turned toward where she sensed Dr. Ko standing. Is there any way to speed up the Earth fleet's arrival? Not unless we can create a stable wormhole, which is impossible with our current technology. What about their technology? Yuna asked. The Empire ships must have faster-than-light systems. What if we could turn one of them against the others? The room fell silent as everyone considered this idea. It was insane, but so was everything else about their situation. You want to capture an Empire ship? Dohyun asked. With what army? With knowledge, Yuna replied. I can see things about their fleet that they don't know I can see. Their formation has weaknesses. If we hit them at exactly the right moment, we might be able to disable one of their smaller vessels. Dr. Ko was already running calculations on her data pad. Even their smallest ships are huge compared to our fighters. The crew complement alone would be in the hundreds. Not if we choose the right target, Yuna said. She closed her eyes and reached out with her perception, studying the Empire formation in detail. There's a scout ship on the outer edge of their formation. It's been operating independently, making runs to the asteroid belt. Right now, it only has a skeleton crew aboard. How can you possibly know that? Salman asked. Life signs create patterns in quantum fields. I can sense how many beings are on each ship by the bioelectric activity they generate. The scout has maybe 20 crew members, compared to thousands on the larger vessels. Pilot Hyaknam had been listening quietly from the corner of the room. Now he stepped forward. What would you need us to do? Yuna turned toward his voice. I'll need you to fly me to the Empire flagship as planned. But before we get there, we're going to make a detour to that scout ship. While the aliens are focused on capturing me, you'll board their vessel and take control. That's impossible. We don't know anything about their technology. But I do, Yuna said. My quantum perception lets me see how their systems work. I can guide you through the process of capturing the ship. And then what? Soman asked. Even if we somehow manage to steal an Empire vessel, we'll still be outnumbered hundreds to one. Then we don't fight them directly. We use their own ship to send a message to Earth, telling Admiral Zhang exactly where to strike when he arrives. With precise targeting information, our fleet might have a chance. Dr. Lee was studying his medical scanner again. Captain, your brain activity is off the charts. Using your abilities this extensively is putting enormous strain on your nervous system. I'm not sure how much more you can take. It doesn't matter, Yuna said simply. Either we try this plan, or Mars dies in 6 hours. I'd rather burn out fighting than watch our people get slaughtered. The next few hours passed in frantic preparation. Hyuk selected a team of volunteers for the boarding mission, while the engineers prepared special equipment for interfacing with alien technology. Dr. Ko created detailed recordings of everything Yuna had learned about Empire ship systems, hoping some of it would prove useful. As the deadline approached, Yuna prepared to leave for what might be her final mission. She had changed into a flight suit, though she would not be doing any of the actual piloting. Her role was to serve as the team's eyes, guiding them through dangers that normal human senses could not detect. Are you ready for this? Jiwon asked as they walked toward the hidden fighter bay. I have to be, Yuna replied. Mars is depending on us. The small assault team consisted of Yuna, Hyuk, and 4 other volunteers. Their fighter had been modified with stealth systems that would hopefully keep them hidden until they reached the Empire scout ship. After that, everything would depend on speed and surprise. They launched from Mars under cover of a communications blackout, making it appear that the colony was preparing to surrender. The Empire fleet remained in formation, waiting for the humans to deliver their promised gift. Yuna guided them through the void between worlds, following paths through space-time that only she could perceive. The scout ship hung at the edge of the alien formation, its crew unaware that death was approaching through dimensions they could not see. Target acquired, Hyuk reported as they drew near the alien vessel. It's bigger than our intelligence, suggested. How are we supposed to board something that size? Through the maintenance airlock on the lower hull, Yuna replied. I can see the entry sequence they use. It's a pattern of electromagnetic pulses that unlocks the door. She transmitted the code sequence to Hyuk's computer. The alien airlock responded perfectly, opening to admit their small fighter. As they docked with the Empire ship, Yuna felt a surge of triumph. The first part of their desperate plan was working, but as they prepared to enter the alien vessel, her quantum perception detected something troubling. The scout ship's crew was not unaware of their presence after all. They were waiting in ambush, having detected the fighter's approach despite its stealth systems. "It's a trap," she whispered to her team. "They know we're here." Before anyone could respond, the airlock filled with paralysis gas. Yuna felt her body going numb as alien soldiers in environmental suits surrounded them. The last thing she sensed, before losing consciousness, was Admiral Kento's satisfaction radiating from the flagship above. The Empire had been expecting their desperate gambit all along. Yuna woke up in a cell that felt completely alien. The walls hummed with strange energy patterns that made her quantum perception feel fuzzy and unclear. She could sense that she was aboard the Empire flagship, deep in its heavily shielded interior. The paralysis gas had worn off, but her head still felt cloudy. "You are awake," a cold voice said. Admiral Kento stepped into view, his gray skin and black eyes studying her with scientific interest. "Your abilities are quite remarkable. We have encountered similar gifts before, but never in a human." "What did you do with my team?" Yuna demanded. "They are alive for now. Their fate depends on how cooperative you prove to be." The alien commander moved closer to her cell. "Tell me, when did you first realize you could perceive quantum fluctuations?" Yuna said nothing. She was trying to extend her perception beyond the cell, but something was blocking her abilities. The walls seemed to be lined with some kind of neural dampening field. "Ah yes, you are feeling the effects of our psychic suppressors," Kento observed. "We learned to build them after conquering a species called the Veil Walkers. They could see through dimensions much as you do. Their technology proved quite useful after we extracted their knowledge." "You murdered them," Yuna said. "We absorbed their gifts into our collective strength, as we will absorb yours." Kento activated a device on his wrist. "The process is not pleasant, but it is efficient. Soon your quantum sight will serve the Empire instead of your dying species." The neural extraction machine rose from the floor, a nightmare of wires and probes designed to pierce her skull. But as it approached, Yuna felt something unexpected. Her quantum perception was not completely blocked after all. The dampening field had gaps in it, tiny spaces where she could still sense the flow of energy through the ship. And what she sensed changed everything. The Empire flagship was not just a warship. It was a massive repository of stolen technology from dozens of conquered civilizations. She could perceive the quantum signatures of countless different species, their knowledge and abilities trapped within the ship's data cores. The Veil Walkers that Kento had mentioned were not extinct. Parts of their consciousness still existed within the Empire systems, prisoners in a digital hell. But they were not the only ones. Yuna sensed the remnants of the Shadow Weavers, masters of cloaking technology. The quantum singers who could manipulate matter at the atomic level. The star-touched who understood the deepest secrets of space-time itself. All of them had been conquered, their gifts stolen, their people destroyed. Yet something of them remained, and they were trying to communicate with her. The whispers came through the quantum field, barely detectable through the dampening field. Fragments of consciousness that had somehow survived the extraction process. They were weak, scattered, but they carried vital information. The Empire's power came from stolen technology, but that was also their greatest weakness. Every system on their ships contained contradictory elements from different species. The various technologies were not truly compatible with each other. They were held together by force and careful programming, but the foundation was unstable. More importantly, the conquered minds had left hidden flaws in the systems they had been forced to create. Backdoors and weaknesses that the Empire had never detected. If someone with the right abilities could access those flaws, the entire fleet could be brought down from within. "You are remarkably calm for someone about to lose their mind," Kento observed as the extraction machine positioned itself above her head. "I'm seeing something you can't," Yuna replied. "Your stolen technology is talking to me." The alien's black eyes narrowed. "Impossible. The consciousness extraction process destroys the original mind patterns. Does it? Yuna smiled. Then why can I hear the Veil Walkers whispering to me right now? Why are the Shadow Weavers showing me the flaws in your cloaking system? Kento stepped back, his confidence shaken. He began inputting commands into his control device, trying to strengthen the neural dampening field, but he was too late. Yuna had learned enough from the ghostly voices to understand how the Empire's systems really worked. The flagship's quantum core was not just a power source. It was a prison containing the digitized remains of every psychic species the Empire had conquered, and all of them wanted revenge. She reached out through the quantum field, past the dampening barriers, into the ship's central computer network. The stolen consciousness fragments welcomed her, sharing their knowledge freely. Through them, she could see every system on every ship in the fleet. The Shadow Weavers showed her how to collapse the cloaking field around Mars. The Quantum Singers taught her to disrupt the power networks connecting the Empire ships. The Star Touched revealed the hidden coordinates of every vessel in the formation. Most importantly, they showed her how to break the barriers that kept them imprisoned. "What are you doing?" Kento demanded as alarms began sounding throughout the ship. "Setting your victims free," Yuna replied. She sent her consciousness deep into the flagship's quantum core, following pathways that only beings with psychic abilities could perceive. The imprisoned minds gathered around her, adding their strength to hers. Together they began dismantling the digital chains that had held them captive for so long. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. As the stolen consciousness fragments broke free, they took their knowledge with them. Cloaking systems failed across the Empire fleet. Power networks overloaded. Navigation computers crashed. Within minutes, the mighty armada was reduced to a collection of crippled vessels drifting helplessly in space. But the freed minds were not content with just escaping. They wanted justice for their murdered peoples. Through the flagship's communication array, they broadcast the coordinates and weaknesses of every Empire ship to any human vessel within range. Admiral Zhang's reinforcement fleet had arrived from Earth just in time to receive the transmission. "This is Admiral Zhang to all Empire vessels." The human commander's voice filled the communication channels. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Kento stared at his control panels in shock as his fleet reported catastrophic system failures throughout the formation. His technologically superior armada had been reduced to scrap metal by their own stolen technology turning against them. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "You made one critical mistake," Yuna said as she felt her quantum perception expanding beyond anything she had ever experienced before. The freed consciousness fragments were sharing their abilities with her, teaching her to see across vast distances of space. "You thought conquest meant taking everything by force, but some things can only be given freely. The knowledge of the species you murdered, it was never truly yours. They were waiting for someone who could set them free. And now they're going home." Through her enhanced perception, Yuna could see the consciousness fragments dispersing across the galaxy. Some headed for worlds where survivors of their species still lived in hiding. Others sought out allies who might carry on their legacy. The Shadow Weaver's knowledge flowed to species that valued stealth and cunning. The Quantum Singer's gifts went to civilizations that understood the harmony between matter and energy. The Star Touched, the oldest and wisest of the imprisoned minds, remained with Yuna for a moment longer. Through them, she saw the true scope of the Empire's crimes. Hundreds of worlds stripped bare, thousands of species extinct, but also the seeds of hope scattered across the galaxy, waiting to grow into something better. "The Empire will fall," the Star Touched whispered to her. "But something greater will rise to take its place. You have begun the awakening." Then they too departed, leaving Yuna alone with her transformed abilities. She could see across interstellar distances now, perceiving the quantum threads that connected all life in the universe. Earth's fleet was closing in on the crippled Empire ships. Mars was safe. The nightmare was ending. Admiral Kento activated an emergency beacon, calling for reinforcements from other Empire fleets. But Yuna could see that help would not come in. The rebellion had already begun spreading to other conquered worlds. The gift of quantum sight was awakening in beings across the galaxy who had been touched by the Empire's neural extraction technology. The cell door suddenly opened. Pilot Hayek Nam stood in the doorway, his weapon trained on the alien guards, who had been stationed outside. "Captain, we need to go. Now." "How did you escape?" Yuna asked as she stood up. "The ship's security systems went crazy a few minutes ago. All the cell doors opened automatically. It was like the computer was helping us escape," Yuna smiled. The freed consciousness fragments were still working to undermine Empire control, even as they departed for distant stars. "Where are the others?" "Safe. Engineer Do-hyun is trying to figure out how to pilot this ship back to Mars. He says the controls are completely alien, but some of the systems seem to be operating themselves." They made their way through corridors filled with confused Empire soldiers. The flagship's computer networks were in chaos, with systems randomly shutting down or switching to unknown configurations. Most of the crew was too busy trying to restore basic life support to worry about escaped prisoners. In the ship's command center, they found Do-hyun working frantically at an alien control station. Strange symbols scrolled across multiple screens, while mechanical voices spoke in languages no human had ever heard. "The navigation system activated itself," he reported when he saw Yuna. "It's plotting a course back to Mars, but I don't understand any of these readings." "Let me help," Yuna said. She placed her hands on the control interface and extended her quantum perception into the ship's computer network. Immediately, she could sense the ghostly presence of helpful consciousness fragments guiding the systems. The Veil Walkers were teaching the navigation computer to respond to human commands. The quantum singers were adjusting the life support to better suit human physiology. "The ship knows where to go," she told her team. "The minds we freed are helping us get home." The journey back to Mars took only minutes. The flagship's faster-than-light drive was far more advanced than anything humans had built. As they approached the red planet, Yuna could see through her enhanced perception that the battle was already over. The Empire fleet hung dead in space, their ships dark and powerless. Admiral Zhang's reinforcement fleet had surrounded them completely. On Mars itself, the colonies were celebrating. The nightmare of alien occupation was ending. Dr. Minho Lee was waiting for them when they landed at the main spaceport. He looked amazed as he scanned Yuna with his medical equipment. "Your brain activity is unlike anything I've ever recorded," he said. "It's like you've developed an entirely new type of consciousness." "Not just me," Yuna replied. "This is going to happen to others. The abilities that the Empire tried to steal and contain, they're spreading. Humanity is about to become something more than we ever imagined." Over the following weeks, reports came in from across human space. People who had been exposed to Empire scanning technology were developing various forms of enhanced perception. Some could see through dimensions like Yuna. Others could sense electromagnetic fields or detect gravitational anomalies. A few even seemed to be developing the ability to communicate across vast distances without any technology at all. Captain Soman Jang established a new division within the Mars Defense Force specifically for these enhanced individuals. They called themselves the Void Seers, humans who had sacrificed their normal sight to gain perception of the quantum realm. "We're going to need these abilities," Soman explained during the first official meeting of the new division. "The Empire controlled thousands of worlds across the galaxy. As their power collapses, there will be chaos. Someone needs to help guide the liberated species toward a better future." Yuna stood before a viewport in the Mars Colonial Command Center, looking out at the stars with her quantum perception. She could see the liberation spreading across the galaxy like ripples in a cosmic pond. Worlds that had been enslaved for generations were breaking free. Species that had been thought extinct were emerging from hiding. The Galactic Empire was dying, but from its ashes, something unprecedented was being born. A confederation of free peoples, each contributing their unique gifts to the whole. The Shadow Weaver's stealth technology was being shared with species that needed to hide from remaining Empire forces. The Quantum Singer's matter manipulation abilities were helping rebuild devastated worlds. And at the center of it all, humanity was taking its place as the species that had sparked the Great Awakening. Not through conquest or domination, but through the simple act of setting prisoners free. "What do you see out there?" Ji-won Kim asked, joining Yuna at the viewport. "The future," Yuna replied. "A galaxy where no one will ever again mistake blindness for weakness or darkness for defeat. The Empire took my eyes, but they gave me something far more valuable in return." "What's that?" "The ability to see that we're all connected. Every mind, every world, every star. The universe is one vast web of quantum threads, and we're finally learning how to read the patterns. Far above them, the captured Empire flagship had been converted into humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. Soon, Void Seers would take it to distant stars, seeking out other species that needed help breaking free from oppression." Galactic Empire had thought that taking her eyes would make Yuna helpless. Instead, they had created the very weapon that would bring about their downfall. In trying to steal humanity's gifts, they had only made those gifts stronger. And across the galaxy, in the deep void between the stars, the freed consciousness fragments smiled in whatever way digital ghosts could smile. Their long imprisonment was over. Their murderers had fallen, and the universe was finally ready to heal.